Hello and welcome back to my craft room, my newly reorganised craft room with my new camera setup, which I hope will actually look a lot better than it did before. I will now have lights shining off my glasses because I've got a ring light on the face camera now, but we just have to get used to that. So yeah, I've had a lot of technical issues. Like, I had my creative slump and then I went straight into some technical issues, but at the end of the day I think we've come out okay now. And as you will see, if I just quickly show you my desk, I think the desk camera looks a lot better as well. I'm able to focus much closer on things. So I've got a bit of crochet to show you today, because it's difficult to show that kind of thing if you can't focus close up very easily. So hang on. Right, first thing I'm going to do is just stop that recording and make sure it's actually working, and then I'll come back and show you what I've a little project I've got to share with you today. Right, so everything seems to be working fine, and I think that is looking a lot better than before. So end of the day, you know, every cloud has a silver lining. So I'm going to move myself to the desk now and show you what I've got to get started on today. So I have seen a lot, you've probably seen them as well, of these crocheted paper chains. You can't really what you call them, because they're not paper, are they? But like paper chains that we used to make, we used to lick and stick when we were kids, but made out of crochet. And I've got a massive stash of tiny scraps of wool, and I think this is a great way to use it up. I'm not thinking just for Christmas, I'm thinking for, you know, to decorate my craft room or other parts of the house, if I can get away with it. Any time of the year. I mean, you could make red, white and blue for you know, we could have done red, white and blue for the Jubilee, or like 4th of July if you're in the States. I love these are just very much my kind of colours for my craft room, but you could do any colours, and you could do the classic sort of Christmas colours as well. You can make them big and small, and they're a perfect thing. If you've never crocheted before, they're a perfect way to learn the very basic crochet stitches. You can see the kind of thing, the kind of mess that I end up with. I start off with all these lovely little tidy balls and I end up with this. I have got everything, by the way, stuffed into one of my these little fabric baskets that I made out of some of my Kawandi quilting, so you can see how useful these are for just little projects like this. I've got room for everything I need. So I've got needles, crochet hooks, scissors and enough wool, easy to take downstairs, and sit on the coffee table in the evenings next to me while I watch a bit of telly. So I think what I'll do is I'll quickly show you what I'm going to be using. Now, you could adapt this to any weight of wool, you just have to make sure you use the right size hook. For me, I'm using double knitting wool, and normally I think what they would recommend is a size 4 crochet hook. These are both 4s, but I find that my tension is quite loose, so I prefer with a double knitting to use good test of the new focusing there, to use a 3.5mm hook, and that just sort of tightens my tension up a bit. Don't need the needles for a little while yet. So what I've been doing, I had a bit of an experiment with these because I've seen them done, but I thought, oh, I don't need to go and find a pattern for these, it's so straightforward. I've ended up with these couple of strips, and I think this is the size I'm going to make mine, my first lot anyway. And basically you just crochet these strips and then you'll stitch them together to make a paper chain like this. And this is just a very simple double crochet, but I think what I might do is make a little mini series out of this and just come back each week and just show a different stitch that you could do. You could it's a good way to learn to change colour and try out just tiny samples of different stitches, you know, get all different textures. I tried a couple. You can also crochet them all in a strip like this. This one looks a bit lumpy and bumpy because I used lots of really tiny ends of wool and I had to join them all in together. But instead of starting your crocheting here and then working short rows, that way you do a great long row and you you just work up that way instead. I prefer the look of this, so I'm going to stick with this. I also tried a different kind of stitch. This is quite a good one to give you almost a rib effect, because it's got quite a stretch in it. It's quite a nice way to make things like hats and stuff. So, and that's very simple. That's just double crochet, but you go into the back of the stitch each time. So I might come back and show you that next week. We'll just keep it really, really simple. What I'm going to do, is stop recording now and tidy up this terrible mess. I reckon half an hour watching something on YouTube, I will turn this back into some nice neat balls of wool. Back in a mo. There we go, that's much better. I've thrown away a few very short ends, but some of these pieces on here are only like a metre or two long, but I can definitely use them up. I'll either use them for stripy ones, or I'll just sew the ends in, you know, just to use it all up and not waste anything. So this is going to be very much beginner. I'm going to use this lighter colour green because I think you'll be able to see better. So I have got my 3.5mm crochet hook, and I've got double knitting, and you could do this as I said with any wool you've got to use. Just adjust the hook size to suit. I'm going to start off by making a slip knot. So the way I do it is I just make a little loop like that, pull a loop through, so that I've got this all like a little hangman's noose. Pull it up most of the way, and then put my hook in. There we go. So that's my slip knot on my hook. And now I'm going to make chain stitches to start off with. This is the way you start most crochet stitches. Most crochet pieces will be started with a length of chain. There is another way of doing it, but I'll show you that another week. Let's keep this simple. And you want this first row, you don't want it to get all tight, so you want this first row to just keep it loose. Just think about keeping it loose with this first row, because it will tighten up otherwise, and then it doesn't look right at the end. So to make my first stitch, my first chain, I'm going to put the yarn around the hook like that and pull it through that first loop, and that's made my first chain. I'm doing 1 chain, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I want 5 stitches, and I'm just going to do 1 extra stitch to turn. So an extra chain to turn. And now to make my first double crochet, or this would be single crochet in America, I'm going to put my hook into the first stitch, not this one here, this one. I put it through that, and I've put the yarn around the hook again, and I'm just going to put it through 1, yarn around the hook again, pull it through both of those loops on the hook, and that's made my first double crochet UK, single crochet in the States. Now I'm going to go into the next chain, so it's this one, put the hook through, pull the yarn back through, yarn around the hook again. And different people hold this in different ways to give just a little bit of tension. This is how I tend to do it. There are different ways of holding a hook. Some people prefer to hold it more like a pencil, but I've always held it like this, and I've tried changing it. I just can't change it now. So now I'm just going to pull that yarn through the last 2 loops on the hook, and that's my second double crochet. So I've got 2 double crochet there now. I want 3 more because I want 5 altogether. So this is 1, 2, 3 more, 5 altogether. And that's my first row of 5. So now I'm going to do 1 more chain to turn. So the idea of that chain is, if I just turned and went straight into another row, it wouldn't shape nicely. This is kind of squaring it off. This chain is the kind of the height of the next row of double crochet. It just makes it look neat. So you do that chain and then turn your work round and start working along the row again. So this time I'm going to go in here. You see, so it's at first I'm going under both. So from this side it looks like that. You can see this row of little V's. I'm going under both of those. You don't always do that. So to create this effect, I wouldn't go under both of those arms of the V. I would just go under that back one. But we'll do that next time. Let's keep it straightforward this time. So I'm just going through that hole you can see there. Pulling the yarn through, yarn around the hook again, pulling it through both loops on the hook. So that's 1, 2, 'Hope I'm doing that slow enough and clearly enough for you to see. Well, I've crocheted in a bit of my hair there as well. 4, and the last one, 5. So I've got, you don't count that loop that's on the hook there now, you count here, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's just the turn. Do a chain to turn again, turn the work, go back into that next stitch, so that one. And once you get into a rhythm with this, you can see you can get quite quick, and actually I barely even need to look now. I can just talk to you like this and carry on stitching, because you yeah, you get the feel for it really quickly. So that is that is just simple, straightforward double crochet, and that creates this kind of an effect. Now, I didn't even count the number of rows I did. I just measured them both to be the same. They've come out about 20 centimeters, I think it was, ish. Yeah, just 20 centimeters. But it's not crucial. You could make them much smaller, make little dinky ones that would go on a tree, or in your craft room, or whatever, on your desk at work. That'd be quite fun. So I'm now just I'll do one more row to show you, but it's so straightforward. So I've come to the end of my row. I'm going to do my chain to turn the work. I'm going to go into this hole, pull the yarn through, yarn around the hook again, pull it through both loops on the hook. That's my first double crochet. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Sometimes you do have to just wiggle through a little bit, because you know it feels like that's it. Just make sure you've gone under both loops of that little V shape. There we go. So I'm going to keep going like that until this is the same length as all the others, and you can see that first row is a little bit tighter than the others. Next week I'll show you a foundation, what do we call it, a foundation chain. It's like a chainless foundation, so you don't get this slight tightness here. It's much more elastic. Did I do it on, I might have done it on these. Yeah, I think I did it on these. You can see that doesn't look, let's take this out. So that's the normal chain foundation row. With this one I've done the chainless foundation, where you kind of do the chain and the first row of double crochet all in one go, and it just gives you a more elastic edge. Yeah, there again. So if you're doing things like hats and stuff where you don't want a tight edge, it just looks better. It just a nicer finish, I think. But I'll show you that next week. I only recently learned that one myself. So I'm going to finish one of these now, just to show you. We'll stitch the first two together, or stitch them together, yeah, link them together. So I just want, you could use a plastic bodkin if you got one. I've just got, this is what I've got handy. If you struggle to thread, these are really, this is the usual kind of needle threader for sort of finer thread. You can also get these for wool, and crewel wool and tapestry wool and things like that. It's really handy. So you put this through the eye of the needle. So the needle I've got is blunt ended, and it's got a big eye. Oh, this camera's focusing so much better. So you just put the whole thing through the eye of the needle like that, and then you get, so I want to just weave in this end first. You just put the wool through there, pull that through, there we are, all done without having to squint at anything. So I leave a long end on one end of the pieces to sew together, but so this is just the starting piece. I just need to get rid of this and make sure it doesn't come undone. So I'm just going to weave it in and out of the stitches on here, just to kind of lose it in amongst the kind of fabric of the piece. Make sure you don't pull it too tight, because it'll all pucker up. And then I weave back again in the other direction, just to be sure. And sometimes if it's something, like something I'm going to wear, I might go back and forth 2 or 3 times. You can, I didn't want to complicate things, but you can kind of weave the ends in as you go, as you're working, but I find that a little bit more tricky, so I'll show you that at a later date. Sometimes if you're doing something where you're changing colour a lot and you've got a lot of pieces to put together, you don't want 5,000 ends to have to sew in, so then it's worth learning to do that, but I'll show you that another time. So now I've just got my piece like this, and now I'm going to use my threader again. So this time I've left a longer end where I fastened off. Well, I didn't show you fastening off. It's so easy, but when I've done this, I'll finish this one off a minute and I'll come back and show you just how to fasten off quickly. So to stitch them together, I'm just going to put the ends together, put the 2 ends together like that, make sure I haven't got a twist in it. Voice of experience there. There, I'll just line up the little V shapes again like that, and just do a little kind of overcast stitch between them. Nothing fancy. There you go. I'm just looping through there. Doing this at arm's length. See? I'll just whip along and do that all the way along. There you go. So I've just come up to the end. I'm just going to, just to finish it off, I'll stitch through like that, but rather than just pulling it through, I'm just going to put my needle back through the loop to make a knot, and then so I've got it stitched together. It's not too, you can't really see it, you won't really notice it, and I'm just going to thread the ends in just the same as I did at the other end. Go back this way and then back in the opposite direction. There we go. Snip that off. That's my first little paper chain piece. Okay, So then I will do the same with this one, but before I stitch the ends together I will link it through like this, so that they're linked together like the old-fashioned paper chain. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to carry on and do a bit more of this one so that I can show you how to fasten off. I'll come back in a mo. Right, so I've carried on a bit and I've come to one of the ends in this ball, so I thought it's a good chance to show you what to do here, because if you're a beginner you might not realise. So I could carry on using this and sort of run out part way through, but I think it's easier just to let it go at the ends. So I'm just going to, although I could go on a little bit longer, I'm just going to stop with this piece and start in a new piece. So all you've got to do is leave that piece just hanging, get hold of the new piece and just pull a loop of that through. So where normally at this point, to make my turning chain, I would go like this and pull that through. What I'm going to do instead is leave that end and pull the new piece through instead, and you can change colour this way as well. Now at this point, as I say, you could work the end in to your stitches as you go along, but I'll show you that another time because I just think it's a little bit more to think about. We'll just stitch the ends in later. So I've just pulled that through instead, so that's my turning chain, turn my work, and I'm just going to carry on as usual. So I've now got, left at the side there, I've got the two ends. This is the old piece and this is the new piece I've just joined in. And I'll weave those ends in later just to lose them. Okay, I've carried on making my rows up until the piece measures, it's just shy of the 20 centimeters now, so I'm going to do one more row. Here's my turning chain, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's now measuring the same as the other pieces. You can always measure them up against each other. Make the first one whatever you think and then just use it as a measure for all the others. So you can see they're about the same. I mean, you could count how many rows you do on that first one and then just keep counting the rows in there, but I just get bored trying to count rows, especially when it's this many and they're this short. So I just find it easier to do it this way. And then when you're ready to finish, you can see I've used up a lot of ends, so I've got all of these ends now to weave in, because those are quite a lot of short pieces. But hey, at least, you know, it uses them up. So now I'm going to cut that off, leave a long enough end to stitch together, and then to finish it, all you do is pull the yarn through the loop on the hook as usual, but just keep pulling it all the way through like that, and then when you put on that, it just tightens up, and that's finished it. So now all I've got to do is weave all those ends in and then link these together. Right, there we go, that's those three pieces all joined together. I think that's looking quite cute already, and I think this is going to be a really nice project for beginners to crochet, to learn just the basics, you know, how to stop, how to finish, how to join in a new piece, just practicing at keeping your edges straight, and it's, you know, at the same time you'll be making something that's quite cute. It'll grow quite quickly, and it'll be something that would be nice to put up in your craft room or wherever. I think it'd be quite forgiving, because if your tension's a bit off or whatever, it's not going to matter. The size isn't crucial. So yeah. So and for, you know, experienced crocheters, you'll knock out a couple of meters of this in no time at all and be able to use up all those ends of wool. So yeah, I think it's quite a fun project to do all around. And I think when after this, if this is something that people enjoyed, then I might do bunting next with crochet, because that would enable me to show you how to increase and decrease and make shapes, and perhaps even incorporate some crocheted flowers and things like that. So yeah, so let me know if this is something you'd enjoy, and then yeah, we'll take it from there. So I hope you enjoyed that or found it useful or inspiring. If you have a go at this or any other creative projects at all, please share them in the Arty Farty Annie group on Facebook. It's getting really lively in there now, lots of people sharing what they're doing, and it's just really inspiring to share all of our projects and encourage each other, really. I love that. I think since the live stream it's really sort of picked up, that group, so I will leave a link to that below. So if you have a go at this or any other creative project, please share it in there, because we'd all love to see it. Okay, that's it from me. Thank you very much for joining me today, and I'll see you again really soon.